That's my waffle burger. Let's see if James likes that.
Yeah. So
And
the
I forgot
waffles
to-
are like the
Buns.
buns.
I forgot to mention something about embrace the night, so I'm gonna mention that really quick, and then James is gonna talk about something.
Oh, don't
So-
take your time with it. But,
It's,
we kind of moved away from the topic of the thing earlier.
I'd recommended this book earlier this morning, and so there's the cover of it. It's it was a good read. Now, I had mentioned some things that I liked about it. I found the main character relatable, and I imagine every reader of this book would be young adult female. That'd be the target reader for this. And I liked I thought the author was really creative about, I mean, it's, you got to work within the genre, but yet the author did some things like, well, I don't want to give it away, but the codex, how the spell that unwrote the codex or whatever, it really interesting how the author managed to pull that in and pull in Merlin and whatever. Anyway, very much worth reading. Now these, I brought these other ones out because obviously I don't know if I reviewed them. Return to Eden and Winter in Eden. The cover art was much better for these than for this one. This one, the cover art was not attractive. Like I'm surprised I even picked it up to read it. But the books, the Return, I don't even know how. I guess I can't remember if it was Soylent Green or something. No, I can't remember what came from that. But anyway, it was eventually somebody decided, oh, let's make a movie out of this stuff. Anyway, can't remember. I'd have to read and I don't care to read it again. Even the little bit that told me where that came from or whatever. I can't believe I got through those Eden books. Awful. And
anything but paradise for reading it.
They were well researched. I mean, the author was obviously trying, what with the whole language invention and trying to get some sort of plausible accuracy with creatures or whatever, cultures, but it was just not at all believable, and it was just bad, just so bad. So, I mean, a person can do a lot of research and still it doesn't work, and yeah, I don't know. Anyway, embrace the night. Yep. Go ahead.
So we're going to segue a little bit from literature to soccer.
Soccer?
Yeah, like a couple of days back, or was it last night? I can't remember. England lost out in the European Cup final to Italy.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of sad faces, I'm sure, in England right now. I think it's the first time they've been in any major final, including the World Cup, European Cup, since 1966. And that one they won. In 66 they won the World Cup final. It's the only one they ever won. And they kind of lucked out. I think Jeff Hurst scored a goal that really didn't cross over the goal line, all the way over the goal line, which in soccer it has to happen. So, to get there, they had a guy called, was it in that tournament? No, they didn't have Nobby Stiles there. They had Nobby Stiles in 62. But they had a whole lot better cut of player, but I think they still played a little bit rough and stuff like that. I think Nobby Stiles injured a few people back in 62. Nasty little fella. I think he's small, but yeah, they had some better players. But this time out, they made it to the finals. Apparently, their manager did a good job, Derek Southgate and stuff like that. But they lost in penalties. They beat Germany on the way there, quarterfinals maybe or something like that, and then they lost in penalties. And I didn't see the game, except I was at pharmacy, and I was there to pick up some stuff, and I was waiting, and I went down to I might as well say it's London Drugs. They have like a high-tech section and stuff like that. So I went down and watched a little bit of sports, and I saw it was soccer, and I go, oh, that must be the final. Sure enough, it was, and it was the finale of the final. So there was a guy there. I was chatting with him. I think he wanted to sell me a TV or whatever. So he's a salesperson, and I said, you know much about soccer? No. He said he liked baseball a little bit. He said he had a friend who liked soccer, cheered for France. I said I didn't like Italy because they train their players to be divers and stuff like that. They should be in the Olympics, 6.0 for diving. But, so England lost on penalty kicks. And all three of the black players they had, what do they call them? African, British? We'll call them black. I think it was Jesse Jackson who started that African American thing. It was 30 years ago. I'm going to call ourselves black. We're African American. We're not going to call ourselves black anymore. And black was the thing that was fashionable in the 60s. Before that,
why not
was
just
Negro.
call people American?
Well, black, I don't like that designation because very few people that were called black or Negro or whatever. Negro just means black. That really look anything at all like black. They look dark, brown, stuff like that. Different shades of brown, really. Fairly deep brown in some cases. Black's a bad designation. It's just a bad designation. African American, they tried that. Some went back to Liberia and they weren't well received. And they ended up behaving like imperialists, right? They're from another continent and so on and so forth. But there's been a lot of admixture. Of course, you see, like it's African American, but you'd never say Southwest Asian European about Jews because they're supposed to be just thoroughly and through European and not from Asia. But you notice how inconsistent the left-wingers are. African American, they're from Africa. Doesn't matter if they got big European-like chins like O.J. Simpson or whatever, mixed with the slave owners or whatever. Lots of miscegenation and so on and so forth. The little guy from, what was it? Not David Ruffin. Eddie Kendricks or something like that from the Temptations. For Pete's sake, he had a little Norwegian type of nose and stuff like that. So a lot of admixture. African American. So politically correct, like a lot of garbage involved. Anyway, so now the black players are getting abuse laid on them. I
forgot my son.
I suppose you could call it racist. Racist is, unless they're saying gas them or something like that. Racist, what a horrible term. I mean, that's what you apply to Hitler, for Pete's sake. Hitler, racist. So, racially prejudiced, you don't hear that anymore because everything's racist. It's like, what was it, 1995, someone did a politically incorrect dictionary, and the definition of racist was, hey man, I disagree with what you're saying. Yeah, that's to a large extent what it is. You can't disagree with someone. You're racist. You're racist. You're gonna lose your job. And yeah, that's what it is. It's just bullying at the best, and at the worst, it's witch hunting. So the way the term racist is overused nowadays, and has been for a generation, at least. So, I'm going, wow, that does not sound like England to me. It just does not sound like England. And then I find out what they were doing. Was it before every game? I don't know. At least before they started going, they all took the knee. Like Colin Kaepernick back in the day, when was that, 2014 or whatever, supporting Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter are a divisive, phony left-wing movement. When I found out where they're coming from, then I started figuring out the people that they're taking as their examples for, like the idiot back in Ferguson, Missouri, or whatever it was, who was reaching for a policeman's gun through, apparently through the window of a police car, and got shot. Wow, you can't. You're going to say he's unarmed. Yeah, but he was going to be armed, and he's for Pete's. It's ridiculous. It's awful. You shouldn't have to be laughing at this sort of stuff, but it is laughable. It's not laughable the guy got shot, but it is laughable, the response to it. Every example that Black Lives Matter chucks up on the internet, it's awful. When you actually take the stuff that's taken out of context, put it back into context, you see George Floyd killed himself with fentanyl. Chauvin made a mistake in not, like pretending as though he could revive him. I gather that to revive someone whose pulse has stopped when they've taken an overdose of fentanyl, you need special equipment. That's what people at the supervised consumption sites keep on saying. We need, because they're going to die. Like, was he supposed to do artificial like a mouth-to-mouth resuscitation? But he was lying. He was saying he had COVID, or like he'd had it 2 months before. But what he suggests, I've got it right now, so you better not touch me. So like Jason Blake, awful person. He's reaching for a knife inside his SUV. I want to see that's what the police account says, and I want to see what their body cams show. Did their body cams show that there's a knife there on the floor of the SUV? He's reaching for something down there. I don't know what it was. Maybe he dropped his sunglasses down there or something like that. And he's going to be taken off, just flying off into the breeze. Boo, 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 boo. Like I'm escaping from justice, but
I'll give it to you when I'm done with it.
At any rate, so they, like I supported Colin Kaepernick.
I know.
Way back when, I'm a 49ers fan, and I was annoyed when they blacklisted him. I don't think a person should have been blacklisted or stuff like that. That's too much like what Black Lives Matter is involved with, which is witch hunting. Colin Kaepernick made a mistake and all that sort of stuff. He should still be playing in NFL, but he made a mistake. Anyway, supporting these idiots, these awful idiots. Anyway, Derek Southgate or whatever, he's made a mistake. See, he made it about race. Leave race out of sports, for Pete's sake. Leave it out of sports. They made a mistake, made it about race, and now people aren't letting it up about race. So they shouldn't be doing that sort of stuff, like calling down the, like I predicted. I was telling this guy on the floor, England's going to lose in penalties. And the English fans are disappointed. Hey, they should be glad that England made it to the
that far, yeah.
Yeah, because England, it's England. It's Scotland has a different team. Northern Ireland has a different team. Wales has a different team. So it's just England. England's population, by comparison with Germany, is considerably smaller. It's smaller than France. It's smaller than Italy. I think it's a little bit bigger than Spain. But it's good. France, Italy, Germany, and I guess Russia's involved in that too. Russia doesn't have a conducive climate, but it has like 150 million people. That's, I think, a little less than 3 times what England has got, roughly 3 times the population. So England's lucky if they make it in the top 4. They've done a great job. So people shouldn't be disappointed in England. They should be feeling proud. But instead, they're feeling all put out and all that sort of stuff. And, so don't go making sports or anything about politics. Don't support Black Lives Matter. They are awful, awful, divisive people. What I want to do is start checking out who started funding them in 2014. 2014 is a watershed date in the history of the world, I'm afraid. Because what happened then, I think it was around then, Putin started doing some ugly things to the Ukraine. I think it was then he invaded the Ukraine. It was then, it's interesting to read, you see, like this seems a little off topic, but you know, the world's a big place, and Putin has his tentacles in a lot of different things. So it's not just in Georgia, and it's not just in the Ukraine. And tentacles all over Russia. So here's the deal. As soon as Putin gets in power, according to Bob Woodward, Donald Trump's over in Russia. Now, I want to meet with Vladdy because I want to put up a Trump tower in Moscow. Vladdy says nothing. Doesn't get even back to him. Doesn't want to meet with him. Doesn't even want to chat with him. This goes on year after year after year until 2014. And then all of a sudden, Putin, hey, you know, let's talk business. Let's talk dirty business. Like you running for president of the United States, and you're in my pocket. 2014. 2014, Black Lives Matter. Who's funding them? Who's hacking into stuff to get them on the internet? Get them notoriety and stuff like that. I'm wondering now. I'm starting to really wonder. 2014. What was I hearing about in the news recently? Hacking, and they figure it's Russian. People having their security cams at home hacked into, or security cams at businesses hacked into, and just put out on the internet, right? Put out on the internet. You notice Black Lives Matter, it takes off in 2014. I don't know how far it went, up until 2016 maybe. But you see, it made an issue for Donald Trump. It's divisive and that sort of stuff. Made an issue. You notice how 2020, boom, in the spring, when the election's going crazy. It's just like all over the news, expropriating the news from where it should be on COVID. Yeah. Right there in time for the election. Boom! Who funded that? I want to find out. But yeah, the hacking started, this security cam hacking started in 2014. I want to find out more stuff about what happened in 2014 and whether or not Putin was involved in at the very least funding it. I want to know who's funded Black Lives Matter. I wouldn't be surprised if, I'm not going to say the Chinese, People's Republic of China was behind some of that funding too. They know it's divisive and things like that. So yeah. So keep that stuff out of sports. Don't support Black Lives Matter. Refund the cops. In other words, make sure every cop everywhere where you can afford it, like here in Canada, I don't see the cops walking around with body cams. Do you? Maybe they've got them. I try not to.
They should.
Yeah,
they should
every cop should have a body cam.
For their protection and for the protection of
I'd insist on it. I maybe carry my own. You know, like apparently for Derek Chauvin, you know, he in the struggle with in the revolutionary struggle with George Floyd, his camera got knocked off. If he wanted to kill someone, he'd just leave it there. He puts it back on.
Yeah.
Poor fella. Yeah. Yeah, he puts it back on. If he'd intended to murder someone, you think he'd, hey, you know, like, look at me murder someone. Stupid idiots.
Anyway, so the reason why I chose waffles for the
This is
burger
the chicken one, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, neither are chicken. They're both
Yeah, I know.
vegan patties, but I put mozzarella cheese melted on top.
Yeah.
Because I asked James if he wanted a cheeseburger for a change, and he did.
Yeah, you bet.
So, but I was thinking the waffle, like all I have is a Belgian waffle iron, and the waffles are too big, right, for a burger. But if I had the little kind of iron, that would be better, because then I could have all the squares could hold in the sauces, like ketchup or mustard or whatever sauce I want to put on the burger. And I thought that'd be good. Anyway, we'll see how James likes that. And I had a good meal myself.
So why
Oh.
we call? Oh, sorry. I thought
No,
you
you
finished.
go ahead.
The reason why we call it a chicken burger is it because it has the fix,
Yeah, I have the
It's
chicken
veggie.
spices.
the chicken
So,
spices.
the things that you're associating with Thanksgiving dinner kind of chicken,
Yeah.
turkey, whatever.
So
So
it
parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme.
it's so much like chicken to me. Sometimes I find it a little bit stomach turning. You know,
Yeah.
if my stomach is too full or whatever. Generally, if something's like an animal product, like not so much cheese, but sometimes some milk, and definitely eggs. If I don't eat them on an empty stomach, and I do eat fish, if I don't eat fish on an empty stomach, then I feel nauseated. Right?
Mm.
So the smell of the chicken fixings kind of I find nauseating because I associate
You
it with,
associate it with
chicken.
chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, I didn't put ketchup on it. You want ketchup on your burger?
I think with cheese, it's going to be plenty fine. Isn't that cool? No.
Okay.
This is twice in a row. Like you bought some ketchup out yesterday
And you didn't
for
go for
that
it. Yeah.
fancy
Well, the potato,
the potato meal mixed with the
garlic and salted pepper,
and the
onion.
greens.
Oh yeah, and the greens.
Swiss
Like
chard.
today, I used beet greens instead of Swiss chard greens.
There we go. So it
But-
tasted so good, and it looked so good. I just didn't even think about the relish. You were saying you want to try the relish, and not necessary. You know what I'm saying? To fancy it up. It tasted plenty fancy as it was. It was good.
Alright.
Very good. I told you about that.
I think so. Anyway.
Anyway, this tastes good.
Whoa.
So waffles make a pretty good burger bun.
Okay.
There you go.
Good.
Just don't put the syrup.
He's been eating burgers open face like this, so that's. I was just thinking, well, this will hold in the sauce,
Well, there you
but
go.
he's not using it.
Huh.
But I brought out some pickles and tomatoes
Well, I
and some
should put the
kale for on
tomatoes
top,
in.
but you don't have to eat it if you
Well, I
don't
want the tomatoes.
But,
The kale, I'm gonna have to eat it.
And
Kale's
Paris
how-
is just going crazy with that watermelon.
Yeah.
That's good. She loves watermelon.
Yeah, poor Opie. He's having a bad time out here. I swatted a fly, and I was trying to get Angel to eat it,
Yeah.
and I put it on Opie's back, so it'd be there, so I wouldn't have to be holding it, right? And I'd only stunned it, It couldn't fly
And
anymore.
it flew
but
away.
No, it couldn't fly anymore. But it was crawling on Opie's back, and Opie was going nuts. You know how he
poor
hates
him.
flies.
Yeah.
Poor Opie. I feel so bad for you, buddy. I'm going to give you a little bit of waffle here. Do you want some waffle? You do. He says yeah with his tail.
Yeah. And well, I brought you some kale
James is
for on
sorry
top,
about
but
that
we'll
guy.
probably just end up drinking kale later today. 'Cause
Yeah, something like that. A smoothie.
it's
Just get it over and
not-
done with quickly.
It's not very good. Nobody likes eating kale. Nobody does.
You didn't want that waffle, eh, buddy?
Oh my gosh. I'm tired now. Ate a lot of food.
Yeah. He's a pretty sharp guy. I said, you didn't want the waffle, eh, buddy? And he goes back to it.
Oh,
And he starts to eat it.
yeah. He's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
He wants to thank you for having given it to him, I think.
No, he wanted more. Or better.
Well, he probably wants watermelon, because...
Well, that, but he'd smell the cheese.
Oh, yeah.
Cheese would be crazy.
Yeah, you're right.
Do you like cheese?
Yeah, he says he
says-
likes cheese.
Yeah.
Well, there's some here that cooked on the grill that he might want. Maybe you don't.
You mean this? Is that cheese?
That's cheese.
Okay, buddy. Here. I got some cheese for you. Might appreciate it.